Hi, I'm Gayla. After 20 years of climbing the corporate ladder, I took the leap and started my own business to pursue my dream of creating a work-from-anywhere lifestyle. Having the freedom to work from practically anywhere is such a cool feeling. You're in the right place if you're looking for ideas and inspiration to start and grow your own online business. Every week in this podcast, you'll receive practical ideas, hints, tips, and tricks to help you grow your online business where you can leverage your time and you can accomplish more. You too can experience wonderful adventure and freedom as you live life on your own terms. Hi there, and welcome to another episode of the Gayla Scrivener Show. Now, I've got a question for you. How are you holding up? You know, life is certainly crazy, but now, with all this virus stuff happening, it's got many of us turned upside down and inside out. And there's such a frenzy about it, about what's going on, that I'm even afraid to speak about it. You know, I'm afraid because I'm afraid I'd be feeding into the frenzy. To me, my perspective is that this volunteer quarantine, or even if it's a not so volunteer quarantine, is a time for us to slow down, take a breath, and reassess. It's like we've been riding on this merry-go-round that just keeps getting faster and faster, and we just keep going in circles. So being cautious and doing our part in stopping the spread of this virus gives us great opportunity to pause, think, reflect, plan, and move forward instead of spinning in circles. Now, several weeks ago, before all this news broke in the spread of the coronavirus, I had a wonderful conversation with Marshall Townsend. Marshall is a leadership coach, a speaker, and a consultant from Boise, Idaho. And he's been coaching leaders for over 20 years in a variety of capacities. Now, I met Marshall through participating in programs facilitated by our mutual mentor, Mike Kim. And I contemplated as to whether I would share this interview this week or not because of all the stuff that's going on in the news. But after listening to the recording again, I knew this was the perfect time to share and introduce you to Marshall. In the interview, Marshall shares what he means to mark your ball. He illustrates the analogy between living life on the driving range versus out onto the course. When I listened to my and Marshall's conversation again, I realized that his message is more relevant than ever. You see, many of us have been playing it safe and stay out there on the driving range, not experiencing and taking the risk of what's out there on the course. With today's events, it's making many of us move out of our comfort zone and away from the driving range and onto the course. And most likely, it's not by our choice. So it's got us a little rattled. Even if you aren't an avid golf player, you'll relate to Marshall's message. I don't even play golf, and I know little about the game, and his message really hit home. I do hope you enjoy our conversation. And let's dive right in as Marshall Townsend tells us what it means to mark your ball and how to navigate the course outside your comfort zone. Hey, Marshall. I am so glad that you're here on the show today. Thanks for joining me.
Well, thank you for inviting me out. It's a pleasure to be able to work with you today on the podcast.
I'm so honored that I have been able to meet you through our mentor, Mike Kim. We have participated in 2 programs now together. Mike has sponsored, and it's just been a joy to get to know you better. And first, I would love for you to tell our listeners a little bit about yourself.
Well, I've been coaching in the coaching field for a little over 20 years. I started my career out as an active duty officer in the Army. And then after 20 years of that, I was asked to retire and become a coach for the military in terms of leadership, decision-making, team building. And I did that for another 18 years as a civilian, working as a contractor with large corporations like General Dynamics, Northrop Grumman, corporate America job being brought back in to work with the military leadership on leadership and decision making. And after doing that, by the end of doing that at the 18-year point, I had 50 guys working for me that all did the same thing. So I had the west part of, basically the west coast of the United States, and all the National Guard units were
Where were you
me.
stationed?
Well, I was still working out of Gowan Field here in Boise, Idaho.
Uh-huh.
There was a center here called the Mission Command Training Support Center, which I stood up, hired the 50 people to work for me in that, build that network of trainers for the West Coast, all under a government contract. But there comes a point in time when you got to walk away from a government contract, because you realize that you can't always bring all the value you want to your customers and clients when you're under that contract. So I stepped out of that and started my own business as a coach, trainer, mentor for not just military, but also businesses.
You still work with the military a little bit?
I have. In fact, I just came back from Warren Air Force Base in Wyoming this weekend, where I was brought out as a keynote speaker for a crowd of about 400 family members and service members, and talked to them.
Wow. That's a large crowd.
That was a good crowd. I enjoyed that.
That is awesome.
And it was Hawaiian night, so everybody was wearing Hawaiian shirts, and it was a great event.
Nice. I know this of you, that you're a John Maxwell coach.
Well, one of the things that when I stepped away from corporate America and I started my business, I wanted to coach, and I already had 20 plus years of doing that. But I realized I needed structure and I needed some direction on how to build this company. And when I found the John Maxwell team, one of the fastest growing coaching and business building organizations out there, it was a no-brainer. It was a perfect match for what I wanted to do. And besides,
Awesome.
John Maxwell's material is amazing. Being able to use that and incorporate that in everything I do.
I am participating in your speaking program, and I have really, really enjoyed that, because what we have learned is through story, it makes our speeches and our point just much, much better, because people learn through stories.
Oh, absolutely. I think your audience would agree that when you create a message that can touch your audience, the story can take you to the teaching point, and being able to learn to craft that story so that you can take them to a teaching point is so, take them on a journey to get there is so powerful.
You're launching this new program that I'm super excited about, and I'd really like to I'm excited about it because you've been telling me about it, but it's
I'll give you little snippets of it.
Yes. So I want more. So I'm going to be selfish here, and we're just going to record this. And it's also stemming from a book that you'll be launching as well. It's called Mark Your Ball. Could you explain that program?
So last year in July, I was asked to be the keynote speaker at, and if you're familiar with the First Tee program, First Tee is a junior golf program nationwide, actually worldwide, that helps teenagers learn the value and the lessons of life from playing a game of golf. And they have a thing called the Joe Louis Burroughs Skills and Leadership Academy. And they brought 100 teenagers from around the country to Boise, Idaho this year, along with coaches, to go through like a 5 or 6 day academy. And on the opening night, they had me as the keynote speaker for the event.
Wow.
So originally I thought, this is funny. They talked about having me come in and do some workshops as part of the academy. And so I developed a 90-minute presentation that had 10 to 12 lessons in it. And then about a week before the event, I got told, no, you're going to get 30 minutes.
Oh,
on opening night at the dinner, which is good, because you see if they've flown all day someplace and they're eating dinner, the last thing, they're not going to sit through a 90 minutes. So 30 minutes about right. I then cut that down and just took a chunk of that and shared that with them. Because I had built the 90-minute event, I had all these other lessons that I wanted to share. And that's when I realized, when I was done and the audience was so receptive to what I talked about, that I realized I had basically written the chapters of a book, 12 chapters. So that's what I've been working on since then, and also going out and speaking and sharing the message with audiences.
So what does it mean to mark your ball? I mean, I
Well,
know what it means in golf. I'm not an avid golf player, but I know enough.
well, do you want me to? I can introduce you to chapter one just a little bit if your audience is willing to.
Ah,
Let me like
well,
6 or 7 minutes.
yeah, I would love that.
Okay. So I got to talk to you just like I was going to be on stage.
That's
The only way I can
perfect.
do it. Okay. So we'll jump right in. So the first question I got to ask you: how many love the game of golf? I love the game of golf. It's really nice. And when I did this, I talked to him in Wyoming about this. I was sitting next to the base commander for Warren Air Force Base, and just the month before he had closed the golf course.
What?
So I got to get up to talk about golf, and and everybody was like, he closed the golf course. And I was like, oh, but that's okay. There was a lot of energy in the room, and it was fun. But here's the question for you: do you love the game of golf? I love the game of golf because I get to hit the ball, and then I get to go find it, and I get to hit it again, and I get to go find it, and I hit it again, and then sometimes I don't find it, and then I got to drop a ball and play it again. And I love the game, but it's a lot of work out there to go out and chase the ball. And that's why I like the other game. And many of you know what the other game in golf is, and that's the game of driving range. And I love driving range because at the driving range, it's always flat and level. If it's plastic grass, it's got that little flat rubber tee that's standardized in height. I get a bucket of balls that's probably got like 30 balls in it. And I can sit there on level ground and hit shots all day long, and I never have to go get them. I never have to go pick them up. That is so much more fun than the high adventure of out being in the golf course where I've got to hit, find the ball, play the ball where it lies, play the ball forward, and it's so much more work out on the golf course. The question for you is this: are the two the same sport? I'm using the same set of clubs on the course and on the driving range. I'm using a similar ball. I'm wearing the same plaid pants on both, courses. But is it the same game? And I've come to realize that it's not. It looks the same. People talk of it as the same, but it's not the same. Because over on one side, out on the course, high adventure and a lot of work. Over on the driving range, not so much high adventure. In fact, it's very calm, very comfortable. And again, I'm always hitting off a flat level ground. And I always ask my audience when I do this is, how many of you feel like, or do you know somebody who lives their life like they're on the driving range all the time? In fact, when they show up to work or wherever they are at, they expect, in fact, better word would be they demand a flat level playing field. They demand standardized tee. They demand that their bucket of balls only has 30 balls in it. And they get a little upset if there's less than 30 balls, but they'll really get upset if there's more, because they didn't come there that day to exceed expectations. They didn't come here to do extra. They were going to do their 30 balls and be done for the day and gone. And again, they're going to hit the balls out there, and they never worry about seeing that ball again after they hit it. And they live their life like that. And it's very tough to move them from a life of living in the driving range mentality, flat and level, I call flat earthers, out to the course where the only time you get a flat level shot is off the tee box. And then from there, it's anything but flat. And if you play the way I do, I'm always in the hazard or someplace. So there's two different worlds. But the question I have for you is, how do we move you from the driving range mentality to out on the course? And I would do that with the challenge. As a coach, I'd want to do that with the challenge with you. Here's what I would tell you. I'm going to give you your bucket of 30 balls, and I'm going to have you hit them. But after you hit them, I want you to go out and pick them up. Now, the driving range has got 1,000 balls on it. And how are you going to find your ball when you put them out there? Well, first of all, I think we'd want to pay attention where we hit the ball and kind of group them into a general area, so we're not spending all day walking around. But there's no way to tell your ball from the others unless you put a mark on it. And if we put a mark on it, then I think you would agree with me, you could go out and find your ball. But something magical happens when you mark that ball. You take ownership of the ball. And you not only take ownership of the ball, you take ownership of where it goes, what it does, who it influences, and where it winds up, which is basically what happens every time you're over on the course. When you're playing the course, every time you hit the ball, you take ownership of it, of where it goes, what it does, who it influences, where it winds up, because you got to go play it again. And the second half of the magic, besides just taking ownership, is you take responsibility for where it goes, what it does, who it influences, and where it winds up. And that's very important, that ownership and responsibility change the game. Because when you live a life on driving range, you have no ownership or responsibility of the ball. You hit it out there, you never pick it up. In fact, if you want to call the sport of driving range, is somebody else cleans up your mess. You make a mess, you send the balls out there, and a guy in a cart comes along and picks them up. And part of the sport of driving range is to try and hit that guy. That's what we try and bounce balls off the cart. So here's the guy that's cleaning up our mess, and we're trying to hit him. But in the real world, in real life, you've got to go clean up your own mess. You got to play the shot, and whether it's good or bad, whether it's in hazard or in the fairway, it's your ball because you marked it. I took ownership of it, and that's absolutely critical. So that's really part of the first part of chapter 1 of the book, where I talk about taking ownership and responsibility for the things you do in life. And when I talked to the teenagers about that, I got a ton of feedback from them that the message really sunk into them, that spending their life on the driving range where it's comfortable is not where they want to be. They want to be out in the real world where they've got to hit the ball and then go find it and play it again and continue through the course. So that was basically what drove putting it together. And out of that, I built 11 other chapters to go with the first chapter called Mark Your Ball.
Thinking about being on the driving range,
Mm-hmm.
and it's comfortable, but you're staying in one spot. So
Mm-hmm.
you're not advancing or growing or, I guess, getting better. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess you can hone your swing, but in order to hit the target or the hole, then you have to be out on the course. To reach your goals, you need to be out on the course.
I agree with you, because I know a lot of people that you're either coaching or speaking or they've got a book right now. They're trying to write a book. They have spent all their time on the driving range where they don't think they're good enough to go to the course. They're not ready to publish. They're not ready to go to print. They're working on it. So I'm over here practicing. I'm practicing. And here you're getting the call from the clubhouse saying, on tee box number 1, the next player is, insert your name. And you're telling the clubhouse, no, I need to hit another bucket of balls. I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready to go public. I'm not ready to go out there. And that happens to so many people. They get stuck in being over comfortable, flat and level ground. They won't, like you said, advance to the next level and actually go do it.
You never really grow in the comfort zone, do you?
No. In fact, the number one killer of dreams in the world is the comfort zone. Everybody thinks it's safe there, but in reality, their dreams are being destroyed or, are being killed while the longer they stay in comfort zone. I wish life came with a caddy who could walk behind you and say, hey, on this hole, you need to do this and this and this. And then that caddy would also tell you, well, that was a good shot or that was a bad shot. In life, it doesn't happen that way. You got to choose the club. You got to hit the shot. And then you got to reward yourself for the good things that happen. And you've got to work on when the bad things happen so that, you don't repeat them. But it's up to you to do that. And again, you only achieve that when you're out on the course. When you're in the driving range, you can hit a bad shot. It doesn't matter because you're never going to play the ball. It's gone.
So what's the role of the caddy?
Oh, a caddy on a high-end course where you're paying for it, he knows the course, and he's going to walk along with you and recommend to you clubs.
So that would be you.
That would be the coach.
That would be the coach, someone like you, that you have walked the path, the course, you have suggestions and recommendations because you have seen it before, but it's up to the golfer to take the hit.
There's a fine line here between a mentor who has experience, who's going along with you and recommending in the learning phase that these are some techniques to use during this time. That's what the mentor is doing with you. But the coach would be the guy who says, so what do you think? What do you think? What do you want to use on? What do you hit? Tell me what you hit your 8-iron. Well, I hit an 8-iron, 150 yards. Okay, how far is it to the green? Talk to me. Well, it's 145 to the green, but the wind's in my face. So what do you think the club you should hit? So as a coach, I would ask leading questions with my clients, because the power of coaching it's not in the coach, it's in the individual. So I don't have answers. I have questions. The individual I'm working with has the answers. Well, the object is I would want to empower them to ask themselves and answer their questions and then act upon it. The most dangerous time in golf or in life, the most dangerous time in golf is from the time you hit the ball till you hit the ball again. Because in that dead space, while you're walking down the fairway, you get in your own head and you start thinking, your self-talk talks you down. You get your head spun off on all the wrong things. That was a bad shot. Just not where I wanted to be. And by the time you get ready to hit the ball again, you're a disaster. And we see that with a lot of people when they start things in life. They're really gung-ho. They take the first shot and then they self-doubt before they take the next one. And they end up never taking the next shot. The other one is...
It could go the other way, too. You could get too cocky and then just blow it. And
that's actually the other part of that was, there was the two things that could happen to you. One, you can outthink yourself, or you could think yourself just, I'm a god at this. Look at this shot. I was so good. And now this time I don't need to do a pre-shot routine. I don't need to take a warm-up swing. And I just stand up there and hit the ball. And if anybody's played golf, you've done that. And because it was such a good shot, you didn't need to do your pre-shot routine. So that what got you there, you throw it all away and then you flub the next shot. One of the other ones was how you check your stance, how you stand in life and on the course. It's easy to have a good stance when you're on level ground. But if the ground's not level, it's harder to have your stance. So you got to check your stance before you hit the ball. And that's in everything in life is to have your values, have your DNA set so that no matter how rough the terrain, you're still on solid footing. Have a beginner's mindset. Every shot's a new shot. That's critical in everything that we do. If you always have a beginner's mindset, you're always acting like it's brand new and you're always giving it 110% because it's brand new and you're trying. The day that you get out in life and you just ho-hum, you don't prepare or you don't put the energy into the things you do, you normally results in failure. Another one is chapter 8 is play like your favorite charity's logo is on your sleeve. And when talking with the kids, when I talked about that one, it's if you had your charity on your sleeve, which a lot of golfers do, professional golfers do, which is different than any other sport out there. When the golfer's got a charity on his sleeve, would you throw that club? Would you have a fit? Would you cheat? Would you, move that ball or change it to a better lie if you knew people were watching? So you have a different attitude when that charity's on your sleeve. And ultimately, you want to take that and move that from your sleeve to your heart. Okay, so that you're wearing that on. Yeah, you can take the shirt off and nobody can see the logo anymore, but you want to have that embedded in your heart. Golf is a team sport. Take somebody with you. And the second to last one is love the game more than you love the scorecard. Because in the end, it's about the fun of playing the game and being out there versus trying to keep score all the time. Mm-hmm. And then the very last one was, why do I mark that ball? And it just kind of goes to everything we do in life. Do we, a PGA professional puts his logo, his PGA seal on his card. Why is he doing that? Why does a military person wear rank on his uniform? Why do I put a John Maxwell team slang? Am I trying to impress you? And am I trying to show off for you? Is this my way of trying to make myself big? And the answer to that's got to be no. I mark that ball because I want to inspire you. I show you my logo. I do this because I want to inspire, because that's what leaders do. We inspire. But that's a big jump from where we start thinking we're playing the golf for ourselves. And we find out in life that we need to play the game, not for us, but for others. So it's not me, it's we. And I do, as a leader, I want to inspire others. And it changes how I do things. When I stand up to hit the ball, if I'm hitting the ball for myself, that's kind of like driving range. Yeah, I'm just on the driving range hitting it for myself. But in the world, I'm hitting that ball to inspire. Again, how I dress the ball, how I hit the ball, how I always give it 110% is because I'm not playing for myself, I'm playing for others. And that's kind of the wrap up, the last chapter of the book. The why part to me is always important. That, we've heard it said that the two most important days in your life is the day you're born and the day you find out why. And when you're out being a leader, or you're, living your life, the more you know why you're doing that, the more passion you're going to have for what you do. That's the big one, is get off the driving range, get out in the fight, first of all, and then stay in the fight, finish the course. Because that's where it's going to pay off over time. And you won't be an overnight success. For everybody that's an overnight success, I've been told it took their whole lives to do that.
So true. So true. How can listeners find you?
Oh, well, I'm on Facebook. My page is Marshall O. Townsend II. But I'm also at MT2 Leadership. That's my business side.
Good deal.
And then and MarshallTownsend.com.
And I'll have links in the show notes for your contact information. And I really enjoyed this conversation. And even me that's not really into any kind of sports for that matter, but I really connect with what you're talking about and have really been inspired, and am excited for how your program, Mark Your Ball program, and your book is going to evolve. And I encourage my listeners, reach out to Marshall, follow him, and really get to know Marshall. Thanks, Marshall, for being here.
My honor. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here with me today. What was your biggest takeaway? I'd love to hear from you. Drop me a note either by leaving a comment or emailing me at podcast@gailashscrivener.com. Now be sure to go to marshalltownsend.com. That's MarshallTownsend.com, and click on his contact page and send him a note and inquire about his programs. Now, I'll have all this information in the show notes and quick links there. And I believe now, more than ever before, we all need a coach and guidance to help us along our journey. Marshall is such a genuine soul, and I love getting to know him better, and I bet you would too. If you found this episode helpful, I'd be honored if you'd subscribe. You can subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and now even on Spotify. Even leave a nice review if you feel so inclined. Thanks again, and remember, I'm thinking of you. Hang in there, and until next time, be sure to find joy and appreciation in the circumstances around you.